Carter, the Power Bryant. Good evening, good sir. How are you?
Blake, I am so excited that Brian Kelly is a very introspective man who realized we got behind in the transfer portal. And you freaking kidding me? This guy's delivering on some players. Now, I heard you mention Jackson a minute ago, the corner. Obviously, a guy that got a lot of really good experience.
Jackson from Florida, just in case you're watching this clip on YouTube. Yes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I keep forgetting you clip it separate and all that stuff. But I slightly wear a blue shirt because I am excited about these two Gator players, and I'm excited about Jack Pyburn. You know, Blake, this is a interesting story. Now, you know, so much was made about these leaked diva demands.
Not true.
A lot of it's not true, but if you knew a little bit more about like his role at Florida, you could understand why he was frustrated with his role. So, for instance, you know, he played 30% of Florida snaps last year, about 33%.
And had 60 tackles.
Yeah, had a lot of production. And, you know, you can go watch a film study. You tweeted it out, whatever. The film study on Power Hour LSU, I want you to give it your best guess, the snap counts that LSU's two starting defensive ends, the percentage of snaps Braden Swinson and
I would say 92.5.
Right. It was close. 75-ish percent. That's about where it was. It's still 90 is like an unreal high amount of numbers. But that's part of why he wanted to leave. You know, he wanted to go with a fresh start. And what's interesting is he was a guy, Blake, you know, when I was researching the film study, he grew up loving the Florida Gators, loved them. So it was his dream school. And he, you know, sacrificed for the team as a freshman, burned his red shirt for special teams. So he's got one more year to prove it. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. And he's not had a full-time role yet. He's not. So in 3 years, not had a full-time role. And his run-stopping film is really good. And as a pass rusher, there's still a lot of room for growth, but they dropped him back into coverage a lot, Blake. So in his final game versus Florida State, he showed off some pretty good pass rushing chops. So the weird thing is, for a year 3 guy going into this final season, transfer season for LSU, we still have not seen him in a full-time role. So I'm really excited to see him. And I do think of the transfers, I could firmly say that his best football is ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, look, 30% of the snaps and 60 tackles is a big deal. The thing that I think that he does more for you than anything is his physicality.
Yeah.
Nobody is more fit. Look, I'm going to call it like I see it. Nobody on our defensive line or at edge has been as physical as that kid at the point of attack since Brian Kelly's been here. Maybe Ojolari. BJ was very physical, but
it's a good play.
This kid will go downhill and go full. I don't want to say water boy and go, hurr, but he will go full water boy and go hurr on you, and he will put his head down. Carter, I shared his film today too, just right when he committed. I don't care who it is. If it's a tight end, if it's a tackle, if it's a guard, dude is lighting people up and will go full on to stop the run. Here's another thing too. He is really good at stopping the quarterback run, which is a big deal. And I feel as if for Pyburn first and then getting to Jackson, but I think the dude can flat out play. Now, the sack production does worry me a little. You got 1 sack in 3 years. That worries me. Can Kevin Peoples be the one that ultimately is the one that's able to teach him? I think that that's going to be a big key here. In reference to Jackson, I would just throw this out here. I'm not I think that Corey sees a guy that can play and is a high-end, high-level guy. I just worry about not having any production. I don't know enough about the young man. I don't know about the kid. So we'll just have to see there. But if you thought that he was an answer at the boundary right now, and it could be him, Stamps, DJ Pickett, whoever, you don't go get Delane either.
No, you don't. I mean,
unless you want Delane to play safety, which is a whole different conversation. But again, in reference to Jackson, I think that you got to trust Corey and that he sees something in the kid. This is the second time he recruited him, so we'll see. Moving on to a couple of these guys, since we were on defense and talked a lot of defense about Pyburn early, any thoughts on Jimari Butler from Nebraska? What did you think of him in that pickup?
Yeah, I watched him late last night, Blake. Also, kind of like Pyburn, this is going to be a new role for him. You know, one thing LSU likes to do a lot of is do the race car cheetah package where, you know, you have 4 defensive ends as rushers. So ironically, Butler was mostly a defensive end, but he rushed as a 3-tech
inside a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Like I would say a good 80% of his pass rush reps came against offensive guards. So that is kind of fun.
Could you imagine if Perk does come back and you have Perk, him, Pyburn, and whoever, Relaford or whoever you want in there to get in the mix?
That'd be nasty. That'd be a lot of speed. And Butler had a lot of big reps, you know, as a pass rushing 3-tech, as a twister, as a guy who can generate pressure. Just a very solid multiple year player. I really do think like Pyburn's on a different level than him, but this is a guy I think Jack Pyburn's very good. I really do. And I think Butler will step in as a very solid player. But that was the most fascinating thing. I don't think I remember a defensive end who pass rushed out of a 3-tech as much as he did on the outside shoulder of the guard. It was a lot, and he's very effective at it. So I'm interested to see, you know, him more reps as pass rushing off the edge as well. So a versatile guy who's played a lot of football, and I'm excited. Look, the Big 12 I've always liked the Big 12, you know, and I liked what Nebraska did with Coach White over the past couple of seasons. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do.
Here's the thing with me with Butler, okay, that I want to emphasize. I'm with you on the pass rush stuff, and here's the thing that gets me. He doesn't look like he's 265, 270 pounds. He doesn't.
Interesting.
To me, he doesn't. I mean, his arm length is insane. Like, I'm talking to somebody last night, and I was like, what do you see in him? He goes, brother, the dude's like a go-go gadget, man. Dude's arms are very long, and he's got a long reach. Here's the thing that I think that when I look at Butler that's interesting to me. When you get a sack, which he had 7.5 of them, it also goes down as a tackle for loss. He had 18. And then 7.5 sacks. So almost 2/3 of every time that he's getting a tackle for loss means that he's making a disruptive play in the backfield in the running game. So even when he's lining up in the interior on 3rd down and they run the ball, he's good enough to stand his own for a play in the interior to stop a run. And not only that, use the speed to get into the backfield and make a play. And it's not like the Big Ten's not physical. The Big Ten's very physical. Like, let's just be real with one another right now. It's not like Michigan's not physical. They're very physical. Ohio State's physical. So I think that I look at this and say, at edge, I don't know if they're going to be able to rush the passer necessarily effectively, but they don't have a Braden Swinson at that yet from what they've brought into the portal. But, boy, they got guys that can stop the run, and they've shown that they can stop the run.
And I said Big 12 on accident. I meant to say Big 10. I
knew what you. I knew
yeah,
what you.
You did.
I knew what you.
But
for an example, speaking of the Big 12, I mean, he single-handedly destroyed the Colorado game. He was a physical. Yeah. He's the one where Shedeur throws the pick, and it was almost a pick six, and then Nebraska goes in from the 1-yard line and scores. Okay, he's the one generating that pressure. He gets another sack. By the way, he wore Uno in that game.
They wore Uno. Switched back to number 10.
Single digit.
Got to watch out for those guys, man.
If any D lineman is wearing a single digit, you better watch out.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? In doing research on him last night, it's actually a really big deal in Nebraska. So, like, they actually do like a vote on who gets to wear them. I didn't know. I didn't know that. I maybe I misread that, but there was a thing. So he switched back to 10.
So his teammates like him a lot.
Yeah. So it should be an interesting development.
It's going to be a very interesting development about him. So they bring him in as well. Let's get to Mansoor Delane.
Yeah.
Carter, this is a big pickup, man. I'm going to call it like I see it. It's a pretty big deal because the way that I see Mansoor Delane, the Virginia Tech DB that committed today, it tells me two things. I know the teams that were after him, and those teams spend money, and you put your foot down, and they went in on this kid. The thing for me, though, on the field, when his team needed him the most to play safety, he went there. He didn't care about his draft status. He didn't care about all that. He went from boundary corner to safety and got a pick. Then this year at boundary corner, okay, against the number one passing team in the country, that was Syracuse, by the way. You can go look this up. Syracuse was the number one team in the country in passing yards. My man went off. I think that this is a massive addition for Corey Raymond. I think it's a massive pickup, and I'm glad that they got him.
Yeah, I think Pyburn's the best player I've watched. He is the most important. Okay. I do think Mansoor's easily the most important.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and he obviously gives him some versatility, and he could play some safety. But these are the proven guys that you need to get in the secondary. You know, one guy that I really wanted the LSU to go after this past season was Andrew Makuba, who's been a great safety for Texas, especially since, you know,
he's the best defender on their team. I don't care what anybody tells me.
Ooh, more than the guys 5 and 7 who are Thorpe guys. Thorpe finalists.
I thought you're talking about. I was talking about for Texas. He is the best defender on Texas right now.
That's what I'm saying. You
yeah.
Think
what 1,000%
over Buren and
go. I'm talking about on the team right now.
You think Andrew Makuba is the best safety on Texas?
I think he might be the best safety in the country.
Wow, he's good.
Yeah,
but that's why.
I mean, you want me to give you my defense? Georgia.
No,
Kirby Smart at the end of his press conference said he might be the best defender we played all year, and I agree with him.
No,
he was the one that knocked out not Stetson Bennett. What's the backup quarterback's name?
For who?
Gunnar Stockton. He was the one that made his eyes roll in the back of his head. That kid's a dude, bro. That's a dude right there. I'm sorry for interrupting the thing.
No. So I was very vocal about LSU not buying a DB in the portal, knowing what we had at secondary going into the season. And they went out there and got one of the better ones. I just started watching him today. I watched the Rutgers game early in that game, made a very huge play on a third down. Like, he's good. I mean, and the thing is, like you said, Virginia Tech played some really good passing offenses this year. The Miami,
Louisville,
right?
Syracuse.
So the main point is he played a lot of great offenses.
Yes.
And LSU played great quarterbacks too, but ACC offenses this year were insane. So I'm really excited to watch him more. But you know, it's huge because, like, I'm not going to say like you, but I do think it's big because I'm just not as high on Jackson at the transfer coming in from Florida. So I think it was very important to add as many DBs as you possibly can. I think Jackson could be maybe not this year, but the next year kind of guy. So Delane, I feel pretty confident that not only will he start, he will be a very solid player for LSU next year.
And look, man, you're having a go at it at safety. Now, they brought in the kid from South Florida. We'll see what happens there on a visit. But look, man, even if you got to, like, even if you have to, like, look, man, I mean, you're a bad way at safety. I'm going to call it like I said. You're in a bad way at safety. And you're going to have to pray to sweet Jesus up above that this kid just says, I'm here to play ball. Like,
let's go.
The problem is DJ Pickett, you know, do you move him to safety and say, hey, we'll move you to boundary corner later? I don't know their scenario. I haven't asked. I don't know. Pickett makes the more logical sense at the current moment because of his size and his speed, okay, to move there. Mansoor might be your best cover corner. And here's a hot topic for you. From a talent standpoint, He is the most athletic boundary DB that you have had since 2019. Or let me back up because Stingley was here after that. When did Stingley leave? In 21?
Yeah, but your point still remains the same. Yeah.
My point remains the same on what I'm trying to say.
His last year was 2019.
His last year was his first year. Right. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
He is the most talented of all of them. And I hate using the saying, but I'm gonna spare it tonight because it's not an opinion, it's a fact. It's not close. It's not remotely close. I love Jared Bernard Converse. This kid is better than Jared Bernard Converse. He can cover. Like Xavier Restrepo is going to go in the first round, and he gave Xavier Restrepo everything and more that he could do it. Same with George and those guys. The kid Pena for Syracuse. Remember the name. Kid's a dog, and a flat-out dog. He put Pena in a blender. Did it? Kid was barking like a chihuahua after that game. Kid's good, man. The kid's really good.
I just also like the name. I love a good college football. I've never met a Mansoor.
Oh, yeah, and many Italians.
That's just such a great DB name. So
it is, man. I think the kid can play. Whatever he wants to do, I do it.
All right. So your thoughts on MVB?
All right, hold on. No,
I need the heat.
We'll get to MVB in just a moment.
I need the Ruffino heat.
I want to get to Barion Brown before we get to him because I think we'll have a long discussion about MVB.
Yeah. Go on.
Barion Brown, the Kentucky wide receiver, gets in here. Your thoughts on Barion Brown?
Yeah, he's very good, Blake. I mean, before the season, Shehan Jayaraja, who's a national college football reporter, said, who's the one player you're excited about the most that's not getting any attention? I said, Barion Brown on Kentucky. I mean, you really stood out to me. True freshman producer with, I believe, Will Levis at quarterback. And then, obviously,
which is his most productive year, ironically.
Right. So now you're in this the Kentucky offense was the Kentucky offense over the past couple of seasons with Mark Stoops. So now he's going to get the most stable quarterback play he's had, and he's also going to get a room that really needs someone to open the top off of a defense, right? That's not really Aaron Anderson's game. You don't want him doing that anyway. You want him destroying people in the slot. So that's going to open up space for Aaron Anderson. It's going to open up space for Bauer Sharp and all the other underneath guys. And look, the single biggest catch of, I feel, the college football season, I understand there's 1,000 different SEC plays that knocked teams out of the playoff contention, but it didn't shock anyone.
More than his against Ole Miss.
It didn't shock anyone that Garrett Nussmeier and Kyron Lacey and Aaron Anderson made those big plays. Right. I mean, they had shown that. The fact that Barion Brown caught that 4th and 7 go ball, because I still believe
Trey Amos.
Yes, I think that was the biggest catch because I think Ole Miss, if they would have gotten into the playoff, they would have won the Natty. I do. They were the best team I saw, and that catch was so big, and it ended up being so big in a very emotional game.
That's what she said.
Okay, there we go. You had to get one in.
Yeah, I had to get one in. Yeah,
and look, he played.
Also, what she said.
Yes, look. He also. It was an interesting Kentucky offense because Dane Key was probably the better overall receiver out of the two of them, but Barion Brown just has that juice, man. The dude could just flat out freaking fly.
Tell me if you agree with this. I don't know what to make of him. I don't know what to make of Barion Brown because I feel like I'm seeing a scratched surface.
Oh,
well, I mean, you don't throw the ball at Kentucky. Carter, he had in those last 5 games, he had 18 targets. He caught 16 passes for 400 yards.
Yeah, and
I mean, what are we debating here? Oh, and by the way, in one of those games, he took one to the hizzy on a kick return, broke an SEC record. You know the 5 touchdowns is a SEC record of kick returns.
It's crazy.
This is what I explain to people. I'm serious, and I'm saying this. You know who else had 5 going into his senior year of kick returns for touchdowns? Devin Hester. But he's a better receiver than Hester is. And that's the part where I bring up, like, look, man, you don't throw the ball. You got Levy and then Vandegrift. You got serious speed at wide receiver. Serious speed. World-class speed. Yeah. Now, do you have football speed and do you have football players? I think the kid can look, man. I think he's one of the top receivers in this class. There, I said it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I'm obviously we'll see what happens with a few of these other receivers, but man, I got to get your thoughts on MVB. I know you already said
Hold on, can we get to Bauer Sharp? MVB's last.
Well, I mean, I do have to skedaddle here in a second, but
okay, all right.
You could go watch my Bauer Sharp.
Quickly on Bauer Sharp. Go.
Well, that's your guy, man. Southeastern Louisiana.
Go watch Carter's film breakdown. How about that?
Yeah, do that because Oklahoma was actually the 3rd team I did the most film studies on this year. So I watched a lot of this guy. Blake, it's important. Like he had some rough goes at it early in the season. That's fine. I mean, it was his first time playing SEC football. But he got better as the season moved on. His role drastically changed as the season moved on. And I know the LSU play, I mean, the dude had some disaster class plays, but part of that was because they were begging for just anything on offense. So I'm not too worried about that. So I'm really excited about what he can bring. And the dude can run. I mean, the dude has serious speed for a tight end. So this LSU wide receiver room and tight end room has gotten faster, which is always a good thing.
Let's get to MVP. Mike Van Buren out of Mississippi State. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so let's start with the biggest positive is that, you can run some. I like, if I have a pocket quarterback as my starter, I like my top backup to be someone who can run, right? Because if, God forbid, Garrett goes down, the guy comes in, brings in an extra element that the defense wasn't prepared for. It could be a very jarring thing for the defense. So as far as his fit with LSU, I think that's a really good thing. The second thing, Blake, is I don't recall a quarterback who ever played a tougher schedule than him. It's truly insane how unlucky he got with the absolute murderer's row of teams. I mean, the easiest SEC team he played was Arkansas, and they were decent. Tennessee on the road, Ole Miss on the road, Georgia on the road, Texas. I mean, the dude played legit the toughest defenses. I made this comment, and I still stand by it. I don't know if Drew Allar, who's been a multiple-year starter, has played as many difficult defenses as Van Buren played.
No, they played 2 ranked teams this year.
Right. So as a true freshman, I understand some of the interceptions were bad, but this guy played literally like brutal schedule, 5'11", and with the worst set of offensive tackles in the SEC, the worst. So the environment gets a lot better, and the fact that he gets all these snaps of experience is amazing. That is so good from an LSU standpoint. And I saw enough, Blake, for me to believe he can be something. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's going to be the next great thing, but I mean, he put up some really good throws versus these teams. Now, full disclosure, some of it was game script where, the other team's ahead by a lot and, they take the foot off the gas pedal defensively. But Blake, he
didn't happen against Texas and Georgia. Those games were dogfights.
Yeah. So the fact, I mean, there were still competitive games. So, or semi-competitive games. It was one of those things where Texas was always up by like 10, 15. They weren't up by like 30. Same thing with Georgia. Right. So he showed me a lot in those games. He had an absolutely beautiful deep pass versus A&M that was just gorgeous. One of his bad picks was on a 4th down play where Nick Gordon just completely dominated a tackle. So I do like him. I do. I don't think Garrett. I don't think Garrett should feel that there's people are melting down over how this fits in with the Garrett doesn't have anything to worry about. I don't think so. But
no, I mean, I don't either. The only thing that he would have to worry about is if he's turning the ball over like he did against A&M and fans get restless.
Right. And Van Buren can run, Blake. He's not like Jalen Milroe, Jaden Daniels level runner. He's good though. He's got juice in the run game. So that does bring back some zone read capabilities with this offense. And that's the hardest thing. So much was made of Jackson Arnold's transfer from, Oklahoma to Auburn. Jackson Arnold is getting snaps as a year 2 guy. Garrett never really got starter snaps until year 4. Guys develop at different.
Add to that, that their stat line is the exact same. Before Garrett was a starter, okay, he had 11 touchdowns and 7 picks. One's got 11 touchdowns and 7 picks, but if you're going to give Van Buren, he's got 5 rushing touchdowns. So, by the way, my thoughts on Van Buren, just to put it like this, I agree with you that Nuss has absolutely nothing to worry about. I'm with you. They're not going to put in MVB for a senior unless some really chaotic stuff starts happening. Right. And it would be absolutely chaotic if that would just start happening. Don't think that it necessarily will, but you have performances like A&M, you have performances like Alabama again, you are in trouble. So there comes a part where I'm with you, but if you can't finally show that you can limit some of these turnovers, then call it whatever you want. There will be people out there screaming, "What's going on here?" You had people out here asking about Colin Hurley when he went down. It's going to happen. And I will say this. I think Garrett, and I said this on Thursday, and I'll repeat it to you here. Garrett's got to get to work. And if he gets to work, I think he can limit some of those turnover issues. The reason his turnovers went down last couple games, BK got involved, and they just said, look, 2nd and 8, I don't give a shit. We're going to run the ball again. I really don't give a shit. We're going to get this ball to 3rd and 5 at minimum. So that's why it was able to help him. Now, he did have the bad fumble against Oklahoma. That's the biggest thing that he's got to work on. He's got to work on not turning the ball over. If he can do that, everything's fine. But the thing for me would be if you're going to continue to develop like you've been developing at quarterback, he is a fantastic succession plan. The question becomes this: what do you do with Colin Hurley? Because I'm just going to tell you this right now. Everybody says, they're going to go in here and battle it out. All right. Y'all go right on ahead and y'all think that. Y'all go right on ahead and think that. Ain't going to happen.
As in, you think Van Buren clears?
Oh, heavens yes. Heavens yes.
Heavens to Betsy. Huh? One thing I will say about Van Buren.
Van Buren does not come to LSU without that assurance.
Yeah. I'll also say, as far as deep ball accuracy is concerned, Garrett's got to get better at hitting some of those. Van Buren hit a couple of those.
A couple?
He hit some bombs, man.
He hit a lot of them.
He hit some bombs.
Ole Miss, Georgia, and Texas.
And they were impressive. It wasn't like blown coverage guy just screaming wide the frick open.
No. Duke can spin it, brother.
Yeah,
Duke can spin it.
He's very, very interesting, and he gives you something with his legs. Now his rushing numbers look terrible
because he got sacked a lot.
And
But here's the thing: he got hit a lot, sacked a lot, and he didn't fumble.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where were some of the sacks on him. Yeah, but. Once again, not worst offensive tackles I thought in the SEC were at Mississippi State.
I agree.
And I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. That is the hardest schedule I've seen a true freshman quarterback play since maybe Brandon Allen at Arkansas, where his first start was on the road versus a Saban defense. But even then, Van Buren is just what he had to face this year was crazy, absolutely crazy. And that experience, it's rare. It's rare that you bring in such a young player with that many snaps. So a work in progress, and I could see him eventually potentially being the guy leading into 2026. So we'll see what happens.
Carter the Power Bryant.
We'll see you, man. Go Tigers.
By the way, any upsets this weekend in the playoffs?
Ooh. All right. So you do know I always say the worst time to give an extension to a coach is before a big game.
I know.
Marcus Freeman gets
Indiana's not going to beat him. It's not going to happen.
You don't think so? Mm-mm. So you've been one of the biggest Indiana detractors.
Yeah, they're ass.
You think that? So
yeah, they're ass. Yes,
you're crapping on Coach Sig.
I like Coach Sig, but here's the truth: they did not face but 2 teams above 500. They beat one of them. They beat Michigan 17-15. They got their doors blown off by Ohio State. They're not a physical football team. That O-line got patty smacked up and down the field.
100. You're right. 100 yards versus Ohio State. But you know what? In Indiana, I saw them
physically get dominated versus Michigan now
in the second half of that game. Yeah, with the 20-15 game. Yeah, they're getting pushed around a little bit.
Notre Dame. Look, we can clown Notre Dame all we want to. They're gonna push them dudes around now. They're gonna push them around. Here's my dark horse. You ready? I think Tennessee can go into Columbus and upset Ohio State.
I've seen a lot of smart people agree with you. Weird. Like the vibes around Ohio State are just weird. Like it just feels weird. You know, they had this, I don't even know, like Ryan Day, the press conference today felt weird. I feel like Ohio State is treating this Tennessee game as kind of like a warm-up game as they move forward in the playoffs. And I'm telling you right now, if Tennessee holds a Triple Crown Natty, if they win it all in basketball, which they could, they look really good. Do it in the world will burn. Actually, if Tennessee just wins it all in football.
Okay, I want Ohio State to win now.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the Vols, man. There's no. I really do mean this. Outside of LSU, where I'm seriously biased, the Tennessee fans. Would you agree? Tennessee fans.
Oh, toxic,
dude. Well, not just toxic. I think they're great. I think they are the SEC.
Oh, they show up and show out for their team, brother. They love their Vols, man.
So what is it? I've already heard rumors of them buying out the ticket allotment, and I heard it could be an orange road
into the Ohio State ticket office, and then started buying tickets. It's nuts, man.
Dude,
they think that it could be 50-50. They really believe that it could be 50-50 based off of the ticket allotment and then ticket sales.
I mean, look, the views
of it's their stat on the internet. I don't know.
Well, I don't know, but it would not shock, dude. There's no price tag too big for Tennessee. Dude, Tennessee fans are the fans that will dip into the college fund.
They've been they've had 2 decades to hold on to it, baby. So, all right, part of the